This is a presentation which will describe police counseling and how it is implemented and how it affects various parts of the police society. Before we get headlong into the information on police counseling that I've prepared for you, I'd like to take a few minutes to introduce myself. I'm Amanda Charette Roberts, and I'll graduate May of 2015 with my master's. My early family life was spent in Roswell, New Mexico. I was born in 1980 to J.R. and Teresa Huff. I have a half-sister named Sherry and a little sister named Ashley. I graduated from Roswell High School in 1998 and completed my undergraduate studies at Eastern New Mexico University, Portales in 2003. I majored in criminal justice and vocal performance. It was during this time that I ended up choosing to pursue criminal justice professionally after taking a homicide course that was actually being offered as an elective and discovering that I was fascinated with criminology and all of the various disciplines associated with it. During my postgraduate studies, I worked both as a secretary for a local sheriff's office and as a corrections officer, which helped to pay for my continuing education. In many ways, I'm very much the same girl that I was growing up back in Roswell. I'm still very close with my family. Mom still gives me the same support and encouragement as always. Sherry and I have grown closer through the years. Ashley got married in 2010 to Pedro, who happens to be a deputy sheriff. In other areas, I have gone through a lot of growing up and learning to make changes in my personal life. I've been involved with countless professional jobs, events, and programs related to my chosen career path, and I'm excited to now present to you my thoughts on police counseling. Law enforcement agencies develop and implement policies and procedures that are directed at enforcing the law, protecting the public, and promoting safety within their communities. They also have a responsibility to implement programs designed to address the emotional well-being of the men and women who work for them. An agency's employees are its most expensive, most valuable, and most vulnerable assets. Even police officers, who are typically strong of character, stress-tolerant, and flexible, are still fallible and suspect to injury. By working with psychologists who are familiar with law enforcement, agencies are better able to develop and implement programs that direct or mitigate potential problematic behaviors. Intervention programs can be direct, indirect, or targeted to specific populations. There is a resistance to seek psychological intervention, or for that matter, any other assistance, because it conveys a stigma that the officer is somehow weak and cannot handle stress. Agencies need to rethink this issue and support employee participation in voluntary programs. Let's take a few minutes to watch this video on police counseling.
The first responders in Indianapolis are getting help to deal with work-related stress and emotional issues.
Now, a brand new initiative, an anonymous helpline, will be up and running sometime next month. Firefighters and officers will now be able to seek help without supervisors or even their peers knowing about it.
Here's Eyewitness News reporter Jeremy Brilliant with how this effort could help prevent problems down the road.
In 20 years of police work, Officer Phil Smiley has seen a lot.
Doing CPR on an infant, nobody can prepare you for that. Nobody can prepare you to see the things that police officers see every day that humans aren't supposed to see.
And while attending training, he had an epiphany. All those traumatic experiences were adding up.
We're discussing PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, and I realized, wait a minute, I have that symptom. I have that symptom. That's what I was going through. I had PTSD, and I didn't realize it.
Officer Smiley got help. He talked to a therapist. It's that kind of help the city wants other police officers, firefighters, and medics to seek out.
We know that this is a difficult job. We know they're going to have issues. I mean, almost guaranteed you're going to have some issues. So we need to provide as much assistance as possible. And we need to change the culture here so that people will reach out.
Recent incidents involving officers driving drunk on duty, a murder-suicide involving a married police couple, and a suicidal veteran officer holed up in his home for hours prompting a SWAT call-out all point to the need to deal with underlying issues.
It's okay to go talk to somebody. It doesn't mean you're weak. It doesn't mean, you can't do the job. You're just doing, if I get sick, I go to a doctor and I get treated.
First responders will have an optional helpline they can call. Counselors will be available outside any city department, and employees can see a counselor up to 6 times for free before insurance kicks in.
For your own personal well-being, take that step and don't be afraid to talk to somebody.
In order for this to be effective, city officials say it must be anonymous. The only information they'll be collecting is how many people are treated and for what, to determine if there are any trends that need to be dealt with. Jeremy Brilliant, Channel 13 Eyewitness News.
Research supports the fact that psychological treatment works, and its success is augmented when it is tailored to the client and to the client's culture and preferences. Ensuring that the counseling is confidential and that the provider has substantive experience working with public safety personnel are 2 particularly important elements for the success of counseling with law enforcement personnel. Police psychologists identify these reactions in law enforcement personnel and use a variety of counseling techniques designed to assist in the recognition and understanding of the reactions. Although it is common for police officers to want to shelter their families by not sharing the details of their daily experiences, they nonetheless take their work home with them in some form. Even under the most favorable of circumstances, having a law enforcement officer in the family changes the family's dynamics. Attending to the psychological health of an employee's home and family life has progressively been recognized as beneficial to the agency as well as to the employee. The impact of trauma on individuals, particularly those charged with protecting the public, continue to be observed historically through the experience of soldiers during the First and Second World Wars. Being a police officer can be an incredibly stressful job. Beyond the daily stressors, police officers can be both directly and indirectly exposed to danger, violence, disaster, and death. Since 9/11, nearly 800,000 deployment orders have been issued for the National Guard and the U.S. military reserves to support various military operations. Law enforcement professionals represent 10% of those activated, thus posing unique challenges and opportunities for public safety agencies. Psychological interventions, including programs to build resilience among law enforcement personnel and their family members, are readily available tools for agencies to support and sustain their workforce. Police psychologists offer numerous services to benefit employees and the agencies they serve. They strive to prepare law enforcement employees to be better prepared to deal with the stressors of their job, to make healthy adjustments when confronted with difficult situations, and to affect the culture of policing by likening therapy to going to a family physician or a dentist. Psychological services to law enforcement personnel are unique when compared to traditional clinical practices. Police psychologists must also have a working knowledge of law enforcement organizational dynamics and be aware of and sensitive to police culture. As the world economies struggle and municipal, state, and federal budgets suffer, agencies are forced to conserve resources with the ever-present expectation to do more with less. Morale may be dropping, employee schedules and workloads may be impacted, and jobs may be threatened or lost. As declining financial resources impact individuals, morale is not the only area affected. Tension might develop in officers' home lives, efforts to work more overtime might increase, and employees in general might feel under increased pressure. More consideration, not less, should be focused on supporting and sustaining employees to maintain a healthy workforce. Police psychologists can be a part of that solution.